Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, no matter where you are or what time you're looking at this video. Bear Geo here. Today I'm going to attempt to solve some of the mysteries of Workshop. I realized that for all you newcomers to Govee, that this may be a daunting task. I have to say that the verbiage between us and China is completely different. What they mean and what we assume are a lot of two different things. So I will try to explain some of that because I had some big issues trying to create scenes because my verbiage is different than theirs. And all of us are. So I had to sit down and think about that. So we're going to all have to change for a little while and think like a Chinaman. I'll explain what they mean and what I mean and the trouble, or what they mean versus what we think they mean. And things will go a lot easier. You may not have the issues I had until I translate, because being in the software business like I was for my whole life, there is quite a difference. So once we learn that and think like they do, this will become a little easier. I also must tell you that I'm working with the pro version of the Govee outdoor lights, permanent outdoor lights, and whatever is compatible with this will show on your list as far as devices. Now, Govee has a way of, if the device you're trying to set up is not compatible with mine, it will not show on your list. And in other words, the software that we're about to create and the show we're about to create is not compatible with your unit or whatever it is you're trying to, or your device or whatever you're trying to set up a show for. It's going to be completely different. But with that being said, if you go into that particular device and look under Workshop, things are going to be different. Things may be similar. So you might get a little better understanding of how things work here. This is going to be a long video. So grab your coffee, your soda, your tea, your beer, whatever you may have to drink. If you smoke, make sure you have an empty ashtray and a pack of cigarettes next to you. I don't smoke, but I have friends that do, so I understand that. All righty. All right, everybody settle in. Grab your cup of coffee. I have my mocha ready. Let's do this. I'm going to add too, now that we're on our way, is that Workshop has 1,000,001 things you can do in there to create scenes. A little scary, isn't it? What we're going to do today is just a basic, simple scene that you can use for yourself. You can follow along with me, create it as we go. You can name it whatever you would like to name it, and save it when we're done. Now, what I'd like you to do is follow along and use the colors that I use, so that way we're all on the same page as we create this. If by chance you want to save this to see and play with it yourself and change some of the settings in it and just see how different the lights behave, because one little stroke of your finger on a setting will change completely how these lights behave. Later, if you decide to save it, you have something to play with. Now, what I normally do is when I create a scene, so I don't get lost in Workshop, because you can easily do that, is I have a notepad here and I write down the settings. That way, if I screw it up beyond repair, I can go back and create a new one and delete this one, delete the bad one, and start all over. But, you know, that's up to you. That's up to you what you want to do. But I always make notes, so in case, you know, and I'm going to say it, the shit hits the fan. Oh, that ain't nothing like I wanted. I liked it better the other way. So here's the difference between apply and save. When we're creating this, whenever you make a setting, you're going to have to hit apply so that you can see how your lights behave. Now, I have an advantage here that you may not. I have two permanent light pros. One's on the house and one's inside here because it's pretty damn cold outside. And I'm not going to be sitting out in my yard for hours like I did in the summer in the dark in a lawn chair with my favorite beverage as I created scenes. So I have one set up in here on the island of my kitchen. And, oh, they're still bunched up, but you can see the pattern as it goes. Um, and I do my creating indoors during the winter. And then I go out at night and then I test it on the house to see what it looks like. So, and if I don't like it, then I come back in here and I'll make my changes. But I have an advantage here. You may not have this advantage. So what you're going to have to do is after we create it, if you save it, you can go out at night and look at it on your home and see what it looks like. And then you can make changes. All right, enough said. Everybody fire up your device, or everybody fire up your Govee. And we're going to go to the device page, as you see here. Select the device. If you're using Permanent Lights Pro, any version of Permanent Lights Pro will work with this. I don't know about any other software. I don't know if I call them ribbon cables, but your LED strips or anything like that will work with this. I know your light bulbs will not. I know your star machines will not. So fire that up. Go to your device page. Okay, select the device you're going to be creating for. Now I'm going to go to my Permanent Lights Pro 2 and turn it on. That's the first thing you got to do is turn them on. We need to communicate with the controller. All right. Next thing, tap on Permanent Lights Pro, and you're going to come up to this page here. Tap more. All right. Tap Workshop. My coffee ain't strong enough this morning. Okay. Tap the little plus sign up at the upper right-hand corner. Okay, here we are. We're in the jungle. Okay, as with anything in Govee, we got to name it. All right. So I'm going to name mine Crisscross. And I'm going to spell it a little different. If I can get my fingers to work here. Crisscross 01, because of the fact that I have another crisscross going, and since this is a demonstration, I won't get them confused. You name it, whatever you like, because this is going to be a crisscross pattern. All right. So now you can change your icon if you have a picture, which is good. You can use that. You can move it into your group if you want, if you have groups. All right. Now, the next thing you see is a lit up number 1. When I say lit up, it is in white. because that'll be what we were working with. Okay, now the Chinese and I agree on applied area. All right, what is the applied area? That is your whole string of lights. That is from number 1 to number whatever you have. If you have 150 set, that would be number 1 to 150. On a 50 string, or on a 50 light set, it'd be 1 through 50. And it would be, for the 100 sets, like me, I have 100, would be 1 to 100. All right, down here, we're going to skip down to the number of IC. Okay, in Chinese terms, an IC, it's an integrated circuit like it is here. However, they are talking about the lights. Each light is an IC. So when they say IC, you got to stop and turn around and go, oh, they mean the lights. Each individual light is an IC. Okay, so how many ICs or lights do you have on your string? All right, I have 60. Mine is set to 30, and I have 60. So I need to change that to 60. All right, now, to create what we're going to create, select the type. Is it, click on it, IC continuously, IC randomly, segmented, or is it custom segment? Now, a segment is where I ran into trouble. This is where the Chinese develop their software, and we in the United States develop ours a little different. Okay, see if this makes sense. Okay, so you're assuming, like I did, on a 100-foot set, each string, I considered a string or a segment, is 10 lights on 16 feet. All right, that is a segment. So when you put your set together, I have 6 segments of 10 lights, which make my 100 feet. You 150 light people have 15 segments. Okay? You have 15 segments of 10, which makes your 150 feet. All right. Now, this is where I ran into trouble, like I say. That's what I'm assuming. And when I went to put my lights together and make a scene here, I could not get them to do what I wanted them to do. Okay, come to find out, there are our way of determining what segments are, and the Chinese version. The Chinese version is any amount of lights over 1. So in other words, if you have 1 light, it's a single light. If you have 2 lights, that is now a segment. And you can create a segment of like 5 lights in one color, 5 lights in another color, 5 lights in a third color, and those are segments. Or you can create lights, you can put 10 in a row, 10 in a segment of 3 different colors, and each of those colors is a segment. So you have 10 lights running down the line, sequential, determined to be segments. Once I figured that out, then my lights started behaving. So you got, like I wanted them to. So you had to stop and think. I had to stop and think what they meant by segments. I hope I explained this okay. So to create what we're going to do, we're going to customize the segments. So we're going to flip this over there. We're going to choose Customize Segments. Okay, how many number of lights or ICs in each segment? Well, I want one because we're gonna sequence these so that they run. You know, they kind of like, well, kind of like chase is a good way to put it. I call it sequential, but they call it chase down the line. Okay. Now let's define interval. It says here, the effect of this layer will be applied to segments with one IC or one light in each selected area of the device. All right, each interval has 0 ICs. Okay, what is an interval? An interval is a space or a period of time between something. Okay? A good example of that would be a traffic light. Okay, after the green goes off, starts an interval of yellow. That yellow, here's the period of time, lasts for anywhere from 3 to 7 seconds, depending on the speed of the traffic. Okay? The speed limit on the traffic determines that. But that's not the issue. The issue is the period of time, the green goes off, yellow comes on, yellow goes off. 3 to 5 seconds, or 7 seconds is the interval. All right? So again, an interval is a space after something to something else. Okay? We are not going to deal with that because of the fact we're going to put it 0 because we don't have any intervals. Okay, I hope I explained that okay. Okay, now we're going to go into color. All right. What color? I'm going to go with red. Okay, this is for our Christmas, so I'm going to choose red. Okay, now we're going to go down to the distribution method. How do we want this distributed? Okay. How do you want to see it? Okay, we're going to look at this. Okay, you can go on based on the number of ICs, based on the segments, or you want them unified color. Okay, what is unified color? Well, it's a color scheme where all the colors used work together harmoniously, creating a cohesive and visually pleasing composition. They're kind of like, they're related to each other and share similar qualities like, you know, tone, hue, saturation, stuff like that. But we're going to go with based on the number of ICs. Okay? Next thing we see is the direction. We're going to go forward. All right? Next thing you see is color changing speed. This you can set down to 0. Retention time, 0. And let's look at retention time. Retention time is the amount of space of time you want it to pause, or you want a light to stay on or stay off. Okay? This retention time the speed controls how fast the lights move. But at this point, this is not used in this scenario, okay? All right. Let's look at brightness. Click on the little arrow. Now click brightness. Whoops. I'm sorry. Brightness here should be unified. All right. We want unified at this point. All right. Now next thing you see is 2 tabs. The first tab, we're not going to mess with the second tab. We're not going to add anything. That's why the little plus is there. We are going to go at what level. You have several choices in here too. Brightest to darkest, brightest, darkest, brightest. And these do make a difference. Darkest, brightest, and darkest, brightest, darkest. You know, that could be a tongue twister there. So we're going to select brightest to darkest at this point. And what that basically does is tell the lights what order to come on and go off. That's basically all you're doing. Example, brightest, darkest, and you can go darkest, brightest. So do you want them to come on and go off first, or do you want them to go off and come on first? Well, as a layman or somebody that's visually looking at your house, there's not really a difference. I mean, there is a difference, but who's going to notice if they're off and then come on right away, or if they're on and go off right away? I mean, you know, that's just the principle. And the brightest, darkest, brightest versus darkest, brightest, darkest, same deal. You know, I mean, there's a reason why you would use that option if you were creating something more complicated. But at this point, we're just going to go with brightest, darkest, okay? So, your brightness scope. How bright do you want these? Well, here it is showing anywhere from 0 to 100%. Well, we're going to change that because we don't want them to outdo what we're going to do here on the other settings for different colored lights and what we're going to add to it later. So we don't want it to be overwhelmed and one cancel out the other because something is too bright. So what we're going to do is we're going to change this. And I have found that anywhere from 54, yeah, I can find it here. 280. Okay. Works good. Brightness, color speed. All right. How fast do you want these lights to switch? Okay, we don't want them to. We're not in competition with a brightness changing speed. So in other words, like if you're having a dimming effect, like all your lights are one color, all right? You want them to dim into the next color. That controls how fast they do that, all right? We're not, you can set it, if you set it at 50%, for an example, if you're using that, your lights will come on all blue, they'll slowly fade out, and then they'll come back on at a 50% rate. And in other words, if you set it to 100, they're really going to really quick. So that controls that, but we're not using that. So we're going to set that to 1%. Retention time between the light and the dark, we're not doing that either because they're going to be sequential here. So we set those to 0. No retention time. Okay, so now we're going to go down to moving effect in the selected area. Whoops, got to watch out for that. When you go to slide up, it wants to change. So we need to turn that on. Boink. All right, so now here it says moving interval. So how fast do you want them, that dark period in between? Well, we're going to set it at 1 because we want it kind of quick for what we're creating. And you can go, now these are milliseconds, mind you. Everything in here that you set for a timing is milliseconds. Like looking at retention time of the darkest light. Okay, that is 255 milliseconds, which is top. Okay, so if I set it so like, let's say 50 milliseconds, okay, I'm close. That's a half a second. Okay, 1 second is 100 milliseconds. Well, I can't see it, so, my fingers are so big, but you know what I mean, okay? So set that back. I'm going to set that back to 0. Okay. Now, moving direction. Which way do you want it to go? Well, there's your options. Forward, backwards, backwards, forwards, forward, backwards. Case may be. We're going to go forward on this one. All right. Now, this is where your moving speed becomes an issue. This is where you want it to move. All right. You want it to sequence or chase, as they call it. I want to go, and you do too. We're going to go 99%. Now, this is a touchy scale, okay? 100%, it's almost unbelievably fast. At 99%, it's like 75%, 25% slower. And by the time you get down to 50% and 0%, you're going to be sitting around, you'll smoke 3 packs of cigarettes, 22 cups of coffee before it changes. This is a pretty sensitive scale. Okay, so now, we would like to have that effect enter and exit. So in other words, what that means, we're going to turn that on. Boink. And what that does, that starts your lights in motion. So when it goes down one string, it goes one way. When it gets to the end, it'll start all over and do it again. Gets to the end, starts over, does it again. It'll do it continuously. All right? Now, we're to the point to where we do not need to go into overall moving effect, and we do not have a layer priority. Okay? The little question marks behind everything will explain what they are. I'm not going to get into it because this is a video on something totally different. So what we want to do is we want to apply this. Okay, check out your lights. Your light should be moving from your left. Well, okay, it should be moving forward. They should be moving from the power supply to the end, and at a reasonable rate. That's where your 99% comes in handy. So now we're going to save this. Okay? Click save. All right. If you're designing this, you can design this in your home. You don't have to be outside. But if you'd like to at this point, go outside and take a quick look and see the direction the lights are going. All right? We'll take a quick pause for the cause. I'll be back a lot quicker than you are, so if you'd like to, hit pause now. All right, that was a quickie. Well, speaking of quickies, remember the days? All right, so now what we're going to do is up here at the top, you'll see preview and copy. What we're going to do is we're going to copy this. Boink. Now what you got is you got a number 2 tab lighting up. This is your second layer, all right? I speak of layers a lot when I make a video of my, or make a creation and post it online, and I'll say, well, this is a layered show, and you can integrate it into, an existing thing that you made, into a workshop, or you can put it in your auto run and just play it as a standalone with your whatever you've created or whatever somebody else played or created. Okay, what this does is this copies everything that you just made. Saves you a lot of headache. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go down and change some things. Okay? This is where it becomes easier. Go down to the color and change that to green. Okay? Everything is the same. Unified, darkest, brightest, brightness scope, all that stuff is the same. Now what we're going to do is go down to the moving effects in the selected area. Your moving interval is the same. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go down to moving direction and we're going to tap backwards. Okay? Everything else is the same. Enter exit effect. Now what's going to happen here is when you hit apply, you're going to have green lights going in the opposite direction of your red lights. Same pattern. And when they meet in the middle, red and green makes yellow, so it's going to turn yellow. Okay? In the middle as they cross. One goes from the power supply, the red goes from the power supply to the end. The green goes from the end to the power supply. And right there in the middle, shebang. They mix because red and green makes yellow as they cross. And you can really see it on a house. All right? So now we're this far. Click save if you want to save it. Now that saves everything again now. So if you made a mistake and something didn't go right, highlight the layer you want to delete, and you can delete just this layer, and you can start all over. Now, if you go down at the bottom and hit delete, you're going to delete the whole friggin' mess and have to start completely over. But you can delete a layer, you can change a layer, and if you boo-boo on that layer, you can delete it. And what happens is layer number 2 becomes number 1. Okay? If you delete layer 1, number 2 becomes number 1. So on and so forth. All right, now we're going to add a third layer. So click the little plus. Okay, same thing. Applied area, all your lights. Number of ICs, 60. Okay, so now we're going to change things up a little bit. Select the type, what you want to do. We're going to go down here and select the ICs randomly. All right. Now we got some numbers in here. These are the maximum and minimum ICs you can use. You want to use for the applied area and in the segments. Okay. So we're going to use random. And again, in the minimum is 1. Now your maximum is going to need to be changed to, I'm going to use 10, but the effect changes dramatically if you use 15 or 20 or even less. But this seems to be a good pattern for what we're creating. And what we're creating is a twinkle effect. All right, now this is where the Chinese and I disagree again on termination. Verbiage, however you want to put it. If you've ever played in finger sketch, they have a thing in there called twinkle. Okay, actually, it does not twinkle in my eyes, it flashes. So, you're over in China, let's say you take a trip over there, and you're talking to all the natives in the area, and you're standing out somewhere at night, and you're looking up at the sky, and you're looking at the stars, and you're saying, boy, them stars are really twinkling tonight. They're going to look at you funny. Because their stars don't twinkle, they blink. Now, to me, there's a definite difference between a blink and a twinkle. I don't know about you, but, you know, hey, that's us Americans. So anyway, yeah, if you ever played in finger sketch, don't use twinkle unless you want your lights to blink, because it's definitely a blink. But my version of twinkle will be obvious here in a few minutes. So anyway, getting back here, the color. Well, again, the Chinese think stars are green. I have one of those star machines that they have, and the stars are green, and there's no way in there to turn them white. So, just to be funny, again, you're standing over there in China, and you're looking up at the sky, go, oh, look at those beautiful white stars. No, the China guy gets mad at you because there's green. Just a little humor. Kind of sick, but a little humor. So what we're going to do on this page is we're going to select white. And we're going to go down and distribution method. Again, we're going to use based on the number of ICs, which means all 60 of them that you have if you have a 100-foot set, and 150 of them if you have the 150-foot set. All right, little sip of coffee. Okay, let's jump down to direction. Well, you have a choice, forward or backwards. That's all you have. So, forward's fine, backwards fine. It's going to be the same. All right. Here again, color changing speed does not matter. So we can tuck them off. Okay, we're going to go down to brightness. Here again, we want them unified. Brightest, darkest is the color order. Okay, in your brightness scope, we're going to set that 80 to 100 because you want your twinkle to be a little brighter than the rest so that you can see them when the other colors are executed. Okay, brightness changing speed. We want that at about 85%. That's a nice round number for the way how fast they activate. Retention time, 1. So we want 1 millisecond between pops or flashes. And the other one the same for bright and dark. Okay, now we're going to apply this. All right. Now you have your twinkle going with your chasing. You have your red going from your power supply to the end. Your green going to your end to your power, toward your power supply. Now I might add you can reverse this if you want. And now you have your twinkle mixed in with them. And your twinkle, since the lights are separated, your white, your daylight color and your warm whites, since they're on their own, they're not integrated with the multicolor LED, makes them pure white. I mean, you know, you won't get any colors involved with that. If one of the colors is red, you're going to see your white pop. If it doesn't matter what other color your lights are other than white, you're going to see that pop. If you change everything to just a white, you're still going to see that pop. Okay? All right. there we go. Now, if you want to, save this. All right, this video was trying to be as simple as I can. And like I say, there's some things in here we didn't cover because we haven't created anything that we need those modes for, or that application for. But this is just a simple demonstration on how you can create something. All right? I hope that this video explained a little bit about the mysteries of Workshop and what's capable of. And you can take this now and save this, and you can play with it if you wish. You can change the settings. And every time you change a setting, hit apply only. That way you can see what the lights, how the lights behave due to your change. If you don't like it, set it back to where it was and hit apply again. And then that way that'll put that setting back. But if you make changes in here, you can make them all you want as long as you hit apply. And if you like those settings, then save. But it is, like I say, you can make all the changes in you want. If you don't like something, like I say, change it back. Try something else. And then if you do like it, hit save. And that'll save your current settings. Okay? All right. One more thing. If you want blue stars, you can have blue, or if you want blue twinkle, you can get blue twinkle. If you want yellow twinkle, you can make yellow twinkle. You can make any color you want twinkle. You can make purple twinkles. It doesn't matter. But anyhow, this is just a brief demonstration. All right. I know the video's long. You probably went through about 5 beers by now, 6 packs of cigarettes, 26 gallons of coffee. I know I have. So, anywho, I hope this video helps, because videos on anything in Govee are very limited on the how-to section. So, you know, Govee has brief descriptions under check or question marks in here of what the lights will do and how they do what, and how to change things, but they don't give a detailed explanation. So I hope this video helps. All right, I've drawn enough. Have a great day. Bear Geo here. Thanks for watching.